Hi guys, welcome to the No Bullshit Gymcast podcast. I have a special guest with me all the way from Oz today. Tatiana, welcome to the podcast. You're a specialist to do with women's menopausal and perimenopausal training and all things to do with that. Please welcome, give everyone a little insight to you and what you've been doing, how long you've been doing this, etc., etc.
Well, thank you, Chris. Well, thank you very much. Good morning or any other time of the day, wherever you are. In Australia, it's about 7:04 in the morning. So yes, my name is Tatiana. I live in Australia. However, I have a background of, Russia. So I've been in Russia for 29 years, and then I changed my life, and now I'm here. So I've been in the fitness industry for over, well, let me guess, maybe about what, 20 years? 17, if I'm precise. And that started with fitness, group fitness, and just being that cardio coach back in Russia. But then when I moved to Australia, it became my kind of, full-time occupancy. And I kind of naturally moved into the personal training space. And then, I became a mom. I was focused on busy moms and became that woman that wants to bounce back quickly. Like we hate the body, postpartum bodies, and we needed to go lean, stage lean straight after that. And that eventually brought me to the bodybuilding space. And I've done my bodybuilding competition, which actually I have realized was a really great learning curve, but it definitely didn't align with my values because it did take a big toll on my health. And so then that's how my direction in my business also transitioned into more holistic approach and health as a priority. And then I turned 40, and there's a sad story behind that. That period in time, I had a friend of mine, and she was 57 at the time, and she joined me to celebrate my 40th birthday in Thailand, where I had my Russian family and friends, and we had a really great time. And on the plane on the way to Thailand, she actually opened up for the first time that she is suffering through menopause. And back then, look, I know her from a long time ago, and she was my client for a long time, and she was one of the most motivated, strong women. And at some point, she just dropped out and she stopped doing anything. And it was a bit strange. And I thought it's just a temporary kind of, period in life and it will be better as she moves on. But then on the plane, we had that chat. And she said, look, I was one of those women that was judging other women that are going through through menopause and using it as an excuse not to do things. And now I'm that woman. And you could kind of feel that she was unhappy about that, and she gained weight, and she kind of admitted the fact that she was feeling depressed because of how she feels now and how she looks now. And unfortunately, back then, it was 2 years ago, I had nothing to say. I couldn't even support that chat. I thought, well, this is what's happening. That's what we're getting to deal with when we get older. And we had a great time. We had a lot of fun. So that was in January. And then sadly, Colleen took her own life in June.
Wow.
So that was the moment when it actually changed a lot in my perception of what was actually behind that whole M word situation. And it kind of was a big call for me because I was just turned 40 and I thought, oh, wow, if Colleen ended up that way, and knowing her from the strength days and the running woman, the woman, she was a powerhouse in fact. And and also very happy, enjoying her life. She had a really good life, very wealthy, nothing really, there was no stress of work or anything like that. She wasn't ill, she wasn't sick, nothing. We were trying to find the reason behind that decision, but apparently I just don't know. I feel like I'm guessing, and maybe it is partially the depression that might be connected to menopause.
Do you feel like, sorry about that? Not even I've known you a long time, haven't I? Through the online space,
Yeah.
and for many many years, I wasn't even aware. I knew you went to Thailand with her. I can remember seeing the photos. I think I actually contacted you on your 40th because
Yeah.
I
So
was
you,
I would have been 45, I think, then something like that. So it's a few years ago, but I can remember you going to Thailand for your birthday, because I can remember the photos. But I didn't know that. Now, an interesting question to this is, I've done another podcast with a guy who specializes in working with high-end men, like high-end businessmen and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of it is we had this discussion about guys from, say, mid-30s, so 33 plus, suddenly going through this midlife crisis, and it's testosterone plummeting or starting to plummet.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the depression side of it and all this. Like, do you feel, from your perspective of, for women going through perimenopause and then menopause, do you feel that that could contribute that? And there's not enough evidence-based information now, even in this modern era of like ADHD, this, and this, that these two areas for both sexes is completely and utterly missed.
I agree with you. I think I definitely see, and look, then I got myself educated and I did a lot of courses on that. There's not many, it's not the appropriate word, but a few that would give me that, fundamental knowledge about what is happening with women in menopause. And the data is changing, so the courses are also have to be up to date, which is something we have to monitor and get ourselves up to date with the knowledge and the science-based data. But it does affect the way your body function. What we're talking about during perimenopause, it's like, it's a lot of years. It can start as early as late 30s, and you just don't ever think about it because we don't pinpoint these two. We think, oh, we might be tired, or we might be stressed, we might be consistently sleep deprived if you're still having young kids. And I would say these, say, 15 years of transitioning, because menopause is actually one day on the calendar. It is 12 months from the last menstrual cycle. So it is one day. We just don't know when this is going to happen. So before then, who knows how many years this is going to go through, going to be happening. So it's about maybe 10, 15 years of transitioning. And that's where your hormones are basically going through a bit of a roller coaster. And it's unpredictable. And that's probably what is the most challenging, because we don't really have a plan. We don't know what we're doing, what we're dealing with. So we don't know when the estrogen is going to withdraw and when it's going to come back. So it's sort of that uncertainty around that time that makes things more difficult. But while this is happening with the estrogen particularly, we're talking about that powerful hormone, which is maybe equal to testosterone in men.
Powerful.
Very powerful hormone, yes. And when it withdraws, it does affect all other functions of your body, not just the sexual organs, not just the sexual system or reproductive system. And the data says that it does affect your brain. So we are thinking that, well, there's a huge rate of anxiety and depression level in women of perimenopausal age. And it is now being confirmed with the data that it is affecting your brain health. So I definitely feel like, well, now that I'm working more and more with women of that, group, of that niche, I feel like a lot of mental health issues are actually true. And based on what I've witnessed with my friend, I could tell she wasn't as happy, although she pretended to be having fun with us. Maybe she was genuinely fun and have fun in the moment, but most of the time on the background was her little chat in the head that she is not young anymore, she's old and she's fat. That's her words. So I'm fat now, I can't be bothered. We went to a bikini shop and I said, let's buy this bikini, Colleen, it looks beautiful, it's your color. And she said, Tatiana, I just know I'm not gonna ever wear that. And when I look back and I think about the words that she has said to me, and maybe she had this thought a long time ago, I don't know. But now I think I wish I was a little bit more attentive to that. Maybe we could have a different chat now. Now that I'm more equipped with what I know, that conversation could have gone differently. And that's kind of a tragic part of it. I feel like I don't want to feel responsible for that. But I mean, it's a bit of a the mind game that I feel like,
Mm.
what if,
Do
what
you,
if?
do you feel it's now a bit of a calling to you to go on and move forwards with this and help as many?
Oh, absolutely. And that was the pivoting point. I felt like, how is this happening? Like, what is actually going on? If that happened to my friend who was that and that and that, how is this going to affect me first and foremost? I think that was my first call. Like, well, I have a young daughter. I also want to stay here for as long as possible. And I know that mental health is something that can happen to you without you realizing it's happening. So I actually wanted to dig a little deeper and figure out what's going on. And that was the first step of me moving forward to that space. Yes, mainly for my personal reasons, but also because I work with women,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them are of that perimenopausal age. So I had to kind of, it was great for them to realize that I'm up to date with what's going on, and they finally think, oh my God, I actually have, I'm heard and I'm seen and I'm understood.
Mm.
It
Do
sound
you
like me.
do you feel, obviously, like, to the viewers and the listeners of this, is like, I'll say it again. I've known you for a long time on the online space, and trust me, guys and girls, this lady can lift. Like, she
Thanks.
can bench, she can squat, she can deadlift, pull ups, all the above. She can do it all. Now, obviously, you've been doing this a long time. A lot of your clients, a lot of my clients over the years have always come to us, and suddenly it's the number one key thing is lose weight, right? But do you feel
Yes.
weight training in women is far more important than is ever made out? Now,
Look, every single woman that comes to me, and initially it is always about the aesthetics. And it is quite sad because, we are still living in the standards of weighing less and be skinny, but no one realizes how
oh,
unhealthy in a way it is, because it's not actually a thing. Like, we really have to start working on shifting that perspective, because, and to be honest, women of perimenopause moving forward, when they begin to feel the change in their bodies so quickly, they're losing control, and they come to me and they say, look, I do not really care about the weight anymore. I just want to feel good again. I just want to feel like myself.
mm,
What is there that I can do? And as I say that, honestly, the body fat percentage, it's actually not a problem. It's the percentage of the muscle mass they have so little, or significant. I would say they're not absent. Muscles are there, but that's just the muscle mass is
oh,
insufficient to deal with all these metabolic changes.
definitely, definitely. Like, I've got a client who's recovering from cancer, so very aggressive breast cancer, and she's just had her final check, and they don't want to see her for a year.
Oh, that's
And
brilliant.
yeah,
Mm,
I didn't have her all the way through a treatment or anything, but the fact of it is she's a Jessica Rabbit like shaped woman. But boy, do I have a battle every week about the scale. Oh,
mm.
it's I've been doing this a long time, and it is a battle. That's all she cares about. I'm like,
It is
but
so sad, and it's like a trap.
it's literally, I'm like, you follow every part of my plan down to the T. She does CrossFit, she trains, she eats all her food on point. She's increased her calories. She's never eaten so much in her life, and it'll drop one pound or
Hmm.
like half a kilo, and it's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like, what you've got to understand is you are on a load of steroids, you're on a ruckload of chemotherapy,
Yeah,
radiotherapy. This isn't going to happen. You're 15 months in the clear from when it
yeah,
started. Give it another 15 months, and then you can start going, this isn't right. This isn't that. That's not right. Because
yeah.
your body is repairing itself, and they just don't understand. And it's just like you get almost frustrated with it, but it's almost like you want to rattle their head, but you know you can't. But you just think, appreciate what you've got.
Absolutely.
A pound is a pound. She's averaged a pound a week. Done. Pound a week, every week. Not enough. But society have put this big boom, 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 boom. I've got to look like this. I've got to look like that. And
And like, you know what?
that's
It can be, yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
right.
I think it can be just one of her beliefs that she continues to believe, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
that's coming from childhood.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, when I was 10, a girl in the neighborhood that I don't even know told me that I have fat legs. And to be honest, it stayed with me for so many years that I didn't wear shorts or skirts or anything above my knees because I thought I have fat legs. And my only goal was to have skinny legs,
She needs
which
to
was
lose weight.
genetically impossible until you get to the point when you actually have to address that. And maybe, unfortunately, a coach like you and me, that is, we're working with bodies. Unless we dig a little deeper and get more into the mindset, maybe that's something that we need to
Yeah.
explore for that to finally shift.
Mm-hmm. So obviously we've attained training is very beneficial to women going through menopause, right? But what are some of the major benefits from training during menopause? What would you say the top three benefits that you are seeing with your clients in the time period you've been working with them? And i.e., I know you do a lot of strength training based training.
Primarily, I am only teaching them to lift weights.
There you
If
are.
I'm completely honest, that's all that they have to get their hands on. And the first thing that happens, they start to feel differently. And I just give you a full disclaimer: starting lifting weights in perimenopause, like at any other age, really, and start seeing results. There's a big gap from point A to point B. So the body changes won't happen instantly. And that is my honesty. And if someone promises something different, or okay, you're gonna lose weight and all of that, that is a different topic.
Yeah.
So building strength and building a lean, toned physique body will take a lot of time, not even 12 weeks, not even 12 months for some women. So it is definitely a long process before you start to see the difference in the mirror. But the way you start to feel about yourself changes everything. So they start to be a little bit more committed to themselves. They come back to the gym and they learn new skills. This is empowering. This is what makes them feel proud of themselves. And then they start to feel, oh, maybe I sleep better. Or maybe my body just feels. And some women start to lose weight, which is, it will be happening. It's not just going to happen all of a sudden. And they start to feel like, okay, well, it's strange. I start to eat more, and I'm actually feeling that my genes are feeling a little loose on me because the body recompositioning is happening on the background. It's just not so obvious. So the first thing is probably the way they start to feel about themselves, which is affecting their state of mind as well. So they don't feel as low about themselves. And you know how we say, I'm motivated to train. Most of the time, women, especially in perimenopause, if they're going through those significant changes in the body and the mind, they just don't feel like doing it. And you know how many days I have the feeling I don't feel like doing it, but I have a plan and I have a discipline and I have habits that I'm sticking with. And that keeps me moving. So those women start to create that kind of structure in their life that helps them to stay afloat, that helps them not to, wrap themselves in the blanket and binge eat because it's cold outside and they don't feel like doing it. So something like that definitely begins to move them more. And that's when they begin to feel, okay, I've got some power over this amazing body of mine. No one says that. I do. That is changing so rapidly. But that sense of having a bit of control is what keeps them wanting to move forward, wanting to do more. And then it kind of creates a bit of like one thing comes after another. So they start to train. They kind of become a little bit more mindful about their decisions around nutrition. So they start to feel better because they start to eat well. And then eventually everything else falls into place. They begin to sleep better. They begin to recover easier. So daily activities like work, I don't know, traveling, kids, stuff like that becomes a little bit less difficult for them. They feel more functional. They feel like, oh, I can actually do that. And that feeling of I can, that becomes a real powerhouse for those women. And that's before we talk about anything else that is related to perimenopause in terms of supplements, the HRT or MHT, whatever they call it. Before anything else, you have this beautiful apparatus, which is your body, and it works amazingly under external stimuli like training with weights, a bit of cardio. We don't say there's one thing to go, one direction to move. It's a variety of things that your body is capable of doing, and all of them together in a complex and a very well structure. I would say the structure that should fit into the lifestyle. We should probably deter from the challenge mindset when we think about, I'm going to spend these 8 weeks and I'm going to do this and that and then I'm good. The truth is that if you have this mindset, you will never get to the point of being happy with your lifestyle, with your body, and with your health. It will always be a cyclic motion, and it's probably the worst thing that you can do after 40. Because your body is already going through such a havoc through, with all these hormones changing. And then you add that external enormous amount of stress with the challenges when you diet at 1,200 calories or low. Like, I don't even know how people survive. And then they push themselves to go hard or go home every day. Of course, by the end of 6 to 8 weeks, you will realize that this fitness thing is not for me. And it just gets worse.
It's nicknamed the Wheel of Death, isn't it? Because basically someone comes along, like one of us, say, oh yeah, I can change in 12 weeks. Gets the first 3 weeks. Oh, fantastic. I've lost 5 kilos. I'm doing so great. And then it starts to slow down over the next 3 weeks. And then it's, we've got to drop your calories. We've got to do this. You've got to do up the calories.
Well, if they talk about that, they already know a lot, right? Drop the calories. They just like a bit more aware of that. Most women don't have an idea about that.
So it's then, I'll just do more cardio. And then it's like, no, I'm getting really teased off. I'm not getting any weight loss. Friends invited me out. We're back to the start one.
Yeah.
Carry on. Just do it another 8 weeks again, another 8 weeks or another 12 weeks. And it's constant. With exercise, obviously, I know you do a lot of weightlifting. Do you find a lot of women find that intimidating to do, i.e., not everyone is in this world or in this space? Like, I know you've just sort of ventured a lot more onto online coaching. Are you finding it a lot harder with your female clients on there to send them off to the gym and go, hey, go and do some deadlifting, or go and do a little bit of this and a little bit of that? Are you finding there's a little bit more resistance to it because I don't want to become big and bulky, or I just don't know what to do?
We still talk about that. That language is still there, right? Big and bulky. I feel it's a great question, in fact, and I do feel like women, specifically in perimenopause, I would say this is something that we definitely have to promote more, because that will be coming to that compound lifting. Because a lot of women go to the gym. Chris, they all go to the gym, but then I watch them, what they do. They spend 15 minutes on the elliptical and then maybe pick up 2-kilogram dumbbells and see something that, I don't know, do something, a lunge with an overhead shoulder press, thinking they are doing a great job. This is weightlifting for them. So the thing is that we just need to kind of, maybe in the space like yours and my own, and I feel like we need to promote the fact that we do need to get strong from now on. And unfortunately, the elliptical and the 2-kilogram dumbbells are not going to make you strong. If they're not testing you, yes.
I have a strategy with my clients that for all their weight training. So I always, so there is this, I got it a few years back, this style of training. And there was a paper done in America on it. And I was like, I was a bit, is it going to work or is it not? It works, because they go, you know what clients are like, and first timers in the gym and people who are inexperienced at lifting, what are they like? Go gun ho at the beginning, don't they? Like really gun ho. So I do a 6 to 8 on some of my clients. So I'll do a 6 to 8 on the first major compounded exercise. And then after that, I'll do, that's all right. After that, I'll do a 10 to 15 on the next exercise. And then I know form is going well out the window and there's no way they're going to have any strength left at this point. So I'll just go really lightweight, 20 to 25 reps on the third exercise. That's it, done. Every part of every muscle fiber is going to be fried. And it's only done in 3 exercises. Maximum of 3 sets. Thank you. Cheers. Goodbye. Night night. I know then for the first 4 to 6 weeks, most of them are starting to learn, yes, the first exercise, you're going to be the freshest. So you're going to be the strongest. You're going to have most recruitment of energy to go in, hit it hard, big compounded movement. The last movement is always an isolation.
Yes. So that's the principle that we are applying with women of any age. You just don't want it to think, okay, we're doing something super special with women going through perimenopause. We're doing pretty much the same, but we emphasize the actual strength. So it's no longer about the hypertrophy in a way. It's more about what you are capable of doing, but also creating that stimulus for your muscles that are also affecting the bones. So the exercises that are actually pulling those muscles so hard that the bones are feeling that too.
You must, well, obviously with ladies, obviously a lot of ladies will not go and do, and this is why I reached out to you. This is why I love your training. When I see you train, I know you're absolutely smashing it, right? Is I only ever see you do through big compounded movements.
It's just because that's the only thing that I film.
That is, it's not, but it's not even like, it's not even your like you're saying, some women will go into the gym with the airy fairy outfit on, and I'm not being sexist here. Guys can do, some guys do exactly the same. We'll go in and, oh, well, I think I'm great and I'm hitting 25 kilos and I'm working out, and the next minute they're on their phone, right? With women, they'll go in, do the elliptical or Stairmaster, anything like that, 15, 20 minutes. Yes, thanks very much. Go and pick up 2 kilo dumbbells and do some whizzy Arnold press or whatever, and think they've had a shoulder workout. You go in, right, where's my bench? Give me my flat bench, load it up, bang, bang. There's my
the first thing I check, no one's on the platform. And that's kind of happy and sad moment, because every time I come, no one is on the platform, no one is on the barbell. And that's my mission deep down, is to actually put the barbell in every woman's hands. If she reaches out to me and she gets to know me, she will eventually get strong. And that's my purpose. This is the guarantee. And that's as you originally asked the question, do they feel intimidated? Yes, they do, of course. And unfortunately, just because by the influence of what they've learned over generations, they're now in their 40s, late 40s, 50s, and they were told 30 years before then that lifting heavy can hurt your back, or you're not supposed to be doing, if you're a woman, it's not good for you. And they are getting getting really excited and stoked about themselves when they actually realize they can do a pull-up. I have a woman, she's a 75-year-old woman, and she can do her own bodyweight pull-up, which she never ever knew she could possibly do it. And she asked me, and she said, what about that lifting weight is actually going to, be harmful to me? I said, yes, if you come here and you lift a deadlift of 100 kilograms that I do, you probably are going to hurt yourself. But if you do, approach it gradually, start with very light, as you say. First, we're going to teach them to actually learn the movement skill. No decent coach will ever make you lift the body weight barbell deadlift. It will never happen. You will be doing a lot of lightweight, which is going to be boring, and you'll think about, oh, it's not moving anywhere. But that's the initial stage. You spend a lot of time learning the movement skills so that your body adapts to that, and the soft tissues like joints and in your body adapt to what you're doing, and then gradually build it up. And then your training becomes more and more challenging, because eventually moving into that progressive overload. So you're getting tested as you continue to get stronger. And that's where we go with compound movements. As you said, what movements are essential? If you ask me, I will always go with the movements that require your entire body to move. And that will be lifting the weight off the floor. That's what I say to anyone, really. If you can do a deadlift, you potentially can save someone's life. And think about the people that are around you.
This is the thing now is coming out is obviously, I know they did a lot of studies in America and back home in Oz as well, is the bigger your quads, the longer your life.
The longer you live. Yes.
Live, right?
Absolutely.
So based on the it's based on the fact of i.e. what you're saying is you should be able to squat down and pick up your body weight, basically. And the fact of it is your stabilization, if you've got a big set of legs, you're more stable platformed. If you've got spider legs, you're going to like buckle very, very quickly. And then that's when it leads to, and the damage isn't necessarily the fall, it's the recovery, having to sit in bed or sit in a hospital bed or having to deal with multiple fractures to your hips because you've fallen over in the first place. It's not the actual, I've fallen over. It's the damage from that and then the time to recover from that, which is then obviously you're going to have more muscle wastage because you're not moving. Okay, you're going to have.
On that particular, Chris, give me a second. On that particular note, when we're talking about tripping over and getting fractured, that's why we emphasize we're going back to the muscle resistance training, because the muscles and the actual muscle fiber is what is responsible for your reaction time. If you have plenty of muscle mass and you're training with challenging weights, your reaction time is going to be instant. You'll be very quick. So falling for you is potentially, you're kind of preventing yourself from that to happen. And then, of course, then hip fractures and et cetera, which if you end up having a hip fracture, the chances that you will never go back to a pre-injury state are pretty high. And you will never be the same, and you'll never. And like, imagine if it happens to you, and then you think, oh yeah, maybe I need to get stronger. How much more difficult that will be for you to get started.
I can remember.
It is not impossible, but starting now is probably crucial for every single person.
I came back to Oz and had my knee reconstructed back when I was 23. 23.
Yeah.
And even I lost one surgery. So I had 2 surgeries that whole year on the same knee joint, right? But that first surgery, and I was fit in my 20s. I'd done 2 years stunt riding on horses prior to that, right? So I was fit. I lost 83% of muscle mass in my leg. My calf was hanging like this. It was literally like, I was like, oh my God. One surgery. So, and I was in my 20s. So imagine what it's like. I hate it's my one thing now is like because I had a second surgery done on it 9 months later. I had all my cartilage taken out on my medial side. So I've done a 654 leg press for 6 on bone. My surgeon crackers about it over here. And I hate to think if I had to have another surgery at my age now. And I'm fit. I'm not, I'm not going to be a problem from it. But if you've got less muscle mass than say I have and less range of motion, movement patterns, the recovery time must be ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's sad. I feel like it is, say, I have an example. My mom, she's 66 now. And when I went to Thailand to catch up with her once again, just this year in April, and I tried to get her to the gym, and she said, oh, no, it's not for me. I really need to be in my preservation mode. This is the word that I've heard. And I was like, what, is it even a thing? Yeah. So she's in Russia, and I guess it's a little bit far behind from, what's happening. And I feel like, and that's what they're born and bred with that thought that You have to be, if you're old, you have to be preserving yourself to not hurt yourself. But that is always happening with that particular, I always have some back pain, or my shoulder hurts, or something else hurts. Something else hurts. I shouldn't be doing it because it hurts. Well, I guess it hurts because you haven't been doing anything for it not to hurt.
Exactly.
And our bodies are fantastic at adaptation. So whatever we do to the body, your body picks up and gets itself really ready for what you do. But similar things happen to the body adapts to if you if you don't do anything, your body will adapt to that too.
Exactly.
And that is going to work for you or against you, depends on what you choose to be doing with it.
100%. 100%. So obviously we've got, like, training to me and yourself is very, very important in our lives. And I know for myself, mentally, if I don't train for like 4 or 5 days out of the week, I'm struggling. And like even even weekends, I'm like, sometimes I'll have a Wednesday off and I'll break my training up in the week. And then sometimes I'll have the whole weekend off. I have the whole weekend off, I'm struggling by Monday. So I'm like, with this,
it's getting hard for us to have rest days.
Yeah, it is. I still
what
work.
do I do with myself? I only have the gym.
It is. I want to go to the gym. But do you feel, with the ladies you're working with, with doing your weight training with you, or what you've set out, do you feel that it's starting to show signs of more balance for them going through perimenopause into menopause and living on afterwards? Do you feel it's balancing everything out a little bit more with training, or do you feel like it's a whole thing, i.e. food, sleep, stress management?
Ideally, yes. Ultimate goal for us would be to definitely address all of those aspects. But if they can start with one thing, I would definitely say, okay, you need to get your hands on some lifting. And again, as I said, at the beginning, it's not going to be anything like what you see on the Instagram or even someone like your coach. It will be far from that. But starting to build the habit of moving your body regularly throughout the week, that will be something that you would want to address. And then upon that, I guess you build up some other habits, and that will be addressing what you're eating. And then, okay, once that's sorted, we're looking at something else, because I feel like for women in general, especially for women in perimenopause, it can be, there are women in their late 40s and 50s. They're still quite active. They still have jobs, husbands, kids, chores, things to do, bills to pay. They're still living quite intense lifestyles. So for them to implement all or nothing, again, we want to kind of steer away from that all or nothing approach, where we want, if you're struggling with your day-to-day life and movement isn't present, we want to implement at least one habit that you can stick to regularly. And that will be, okay, maybe for some women it will be just to have like a 10-minute walk by themselves instead of sitting down all day and then driving 2-3 hours to commute. And so things like that will have to be, again, gradual. For some women, it will be just to add a little bit of movement, whatever it is. And maybe for those women going to the gym, the idea of going to the gym, lifting heavy weights with compound movements, hang on a second, you lost me there. And they will never go there. So for some women, it will be like, all right, 10 body weight squats a day and 10-minute walk, until they get to start to feel the benefits of that movement, because your body will respond to any movement that you do.
It does.
And then eventually build up that, that kind of, we call it habit stacking, so that okay, if I can handle these, if I can go to the gym twice a week and maybe do a 10-20-minute walk every day, I'm good. From then, they feel better. They are ready to take on something else. And that's when we're looking, okay, how's your nutrition? Nutrition is also a very vast subject.
Yeah.
We start with one thing. I say to them, like, well, okay, it's protein. Protein is something that we need to look at. And by my personal experience and the experience from working with other women, if we don't know what we eat, we don't track, most likely you're not eating enough protein. And I say protein because this is one major goal for all of us, especially women moving into menopause.
Mm-hmm.
It will be number one macronutrient that you have to focus on. And so we are looking at that.
Do you,
and that will be,
Sorry to interrupt. With you talking about protein now, obviously you probably work in kilos, right?
Yes.
But do you set your nutrition up in pounds or do you set up in kilos? Because I've got to
So
work it out in my
because I'm in Australia, we are using kilograms, yes,
right.
but it's we can convert it to pounds if
Okay,
that's
so
all.
how do you set up majority of your females? Do you, because I know there's a lot of studies at the moment talking about women who are perimenopausal and going into menopause, that there's research now stating that instead of it being 1 pound, 1 gram per pound of body weight, or 1.2 for a woman, it should be nearly double that, nearly two grams per pound of body
Mhm.
weight. How do you feel about that? Do you feel it's it's plausible, or do you feel it's like that's protein overload and like
Um, I see the sense in that. So I feel like it will be again very individual to every single woman.
yeah,
If a woman has a goal to get stronger, like myself, I do eat about 2 grams of protein per my kilogram, 1 kilogram of body weight. So it's a pretty high intake.
yeah,
But I also have high goals. I'm also lifting really heavy, and I need that for building my strength and building my muscle mass and hold keep what I have. But say if it's a woman that never lifted anything in her entire life and never had any understanding of what she is eating, I guess it will also start with some essential initial level, which is 1.1 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, with progressive overload again,
yeah,
moving towards a higher protein intake over the time. Up to 2 to 2.2, this is probably going to be the maximum intake, 2.2 for elite athletes
yeah,
that do intense training, lifting really heavy. But if you're not an athlete or you're just general population, we're looking at 1.2 to at least 1.6, 1.8 at some point over a period of time. I guess it's a very challenging subject as well. Many women not only not know that they, oh, now I need to eat my protein, and then get really overwhelmed with the fact that now
busted, yeah,
it's a full-time job to feed in 150 grams of protein. It's a lot of
mm,
protein.
yeah, yeah,
So it's start with little, at least bump it up to the essential level.
mm,
And that will be okay. A lot of women probably eating like 30 grams of protein per day.
yeah.
And
Oh,
that's not, it's
it's
far from the, it's not optimal for their day-to-day living.
no, no,
And no
no.
wonder they will be the women who struggle to sleep, lose weight, they will feel tired all the time, they feel a bit, okay, the brain fogs. All of those symptoms of perimenopause can be fixed with appropriate nutrition and strength training. I guarantee you, you probably will alleviate all those symptoms just purely fixing
Mm,
those two aspects,
yeah,
which is going to be that nourishment with food, because a lot of women are still sitting in the low calorie intake thinking that they have to eat less.
there is a very famous coach up the Sunshine Coast that I have a very, very big bee in my bonnet about. He he did a client who came to me not long ago. She stopped because of financials, but yeah, it's a case of an ex-girlfriend of mine while I was living in Oz. He gave her 870 calories 6 weeks out from her show and 25,000 steps a day and weight training. And she didn't have a period for 9.5 months. And then it came back once and didn't come back for another 7 months.
And it is sad, and look, and that's why we have so much confusion. We have so much, so many women that are still living in that mindset, and they kind of, what, they just working against themselves. They do it to themselves, which is the saddest part.
Yeah. But do you
And
feel
as
it's
soon as they start to work with the coach like you and me, and we say, okay, how about we eat 1,800 calories at least? Okay, from if she has been eating 800 calories,
yeah,
for her to add another 1,000 will be an enormous amount of energy. She probably will struggle to get it.
yeah.
So again, we build it up gradually, and then she finally starts to feel like she's a human again. But once upon a time, at the beginning, it will feel like 1,800 calories.
Oh
Like, are you
yeah.
serious?
Yeah. And I
How-
just saved a client who I've just trained. she's just finished with me. She did 12 months with me. Literally 890 calories, in her early 40s, arthritis of the hips, training with a guy who's ex-army, PTI style training, no clue of her nutrition whatsoever, and bang, she was on 2,600 calories, and she'd never ever been a size 8 in her whole entire life. She went from originally she came to me at 14, 16. And all it is just
right. And that's what we need to teach them, that eating food is actually beneficial, because you will start to feel like you're thriving again. You're human and your body is supposed to feel
100%.
good.
So before, I know you've got to shoot in about 10 minutes, couple of questions. I always like to finish podcast on myths from our industry.
There's so many.
There's lots. So one of the biggest myths, and you being a very attractive lady, is, well, doing weights makes me big and bulky and muscly. Tatiana, how many years have you been training?
Yeah, many years. I'm still waiting. When am I gonna get bulky, really?
Yeah.
And the thing is, what happens with the feeling and the look of the bulky, I think all women think, and that happens, it actually does happen. When you're having excessive body fat and then you start introducing resistance training, what happens, it's invisible for you, but your muscles become slightly increased in size. They become to be active, they become to the fluctuation of fluids is happening as well, because they kind of become like a sponge that is always going to drain that, fluids with carbs and the nutrients to grow and recover as you start training with resistance. And what happens, you do feel tighter in your jeans or clothing in general as soon as you start lifting weights, if you still carry plenty of body fat. So we have to understand that and actually be patient with this phase, which is very, very important. Initial phase of us building muscle mass is going to feel quite uncomfortable. And if you're looking at bodybuilders, they all having this like build phase where they feel thick and they do not like themselves. They don't post as much on social media because they do not look lean.
But we're taking in a lot of calories when we're like that.
Exactly. And that's where I think that bulky term comes from, because at the start, that's how you feel. Okay, what happened here? I came to you to lose weight, but now I feel like my clothes do not fit. What's going on?
Yeah.
And I guess that's where it comes from. And it is not factual. As soon as you start to manipulate your calories and your training in the direction of a deficit, you'll start to lose body fat. But for us, to lose body weight in body fat is what we are after. It's no longer the number on the scale that we want to reduce, no matter what.
Composition.
And if you're chasing, yes, exactly. If you're chasing the number on the scale, it's very easy. You can easily put yourself on 1,200 calories for a week and you will lose all the muscle mass. First thing, you will lose a lot of weight. Yes, you will lose light, you will feel light, but you're still going to be skinny fat. And is it the ultimate look? Is it your definition of being toned and defined? Then it will be up to you. So you either choose to be patient and trust the process and start to be bulky first and then get leaner eventually as you go and continue to stay with it. And that's, if you look at the people who lift heavy weights and they train with strength and some cardio, they actually look quite fit. They are not made necessarily like myself. I'm at 23% body fat. I'm not lean, but my physique looks lean.
You look.
But
I don't
yes,
believe
exactly
you're
right.
23%.
But it's the body composition that will then play the role. But again, before that, we get to spend a lot of time doing the right things, building your relationship with food, building your commitment to the strength training and cardio in a really nice structured way that doesn't feel like a challenge. I steer away from the challenge term because it doesn't have to be a challenge. It's part of your life and it should feel good to you. And only in that case it will be consistent.
Question to you. How often, I know you play tennis, right?
Yes.
How often do you actually jump on a piece of cardio equipment in the gym?
Well, right now, quite frequently, because I'm training for a competition, High Rocks comp, which is happening on the 5th of July. So my training is a little bit specific, and I do have some cardio. But again, in saying that, it is a specific cardio, specific, which means it will be mimicking what we are going to do on the day.
But
and it does include some running.
In a general scenario, when you're not training for high rocks, how often do you jump on a piece of cardio equipment?
I try not to unless it's raining. So I would rather go outside and go for a walk, or if I prefer to run and do some, stair runs and stuff like that, just to keep my heart rate up. And it will be a short workout, very short and quick. Just to get that, the intensity up and down for the heart health. But no, definitely wouldn't. And that's what I encourage my clients. If the weather is good and you live in a beautiful place, and it is the best way for you to do it outside, go for a walk. And walking is a great way of cardio, and that's what we actually use to, manipulate energy expenditure if you're in deficit, because it's sort of less strenuous on your body and less stressful, and you don't really feel like you're doing a lot of physical work. It doesn't really sound like a cardio session. It's more an enjoyable session, spending time outdoors and getting all the benefits of the sunlight and the fresh air. And, you can listen to the music, or you can listen to a podcast. So it's a quality time with yourself or with someone else that you're sharing it with.
This is the important one. Last question for you. If you eat a lot of protein, as we were just discussing, you're going to put on too much muscle. Now, these myths are unbelievable, right? Okay. I'd love to know who came up with these ideas that if you're going to eat a ruckload of protein, you're going to suddenly turn into Mrs. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, and all the above.
Well, the current evidence, the researchers show that it is quite impossible. And firstly, it is really important to eat way too much protein. I feel like it almost comes from those people who actually were told to eat more protein. And when they start to eat more protein, they struggle to hit the actual number, and they come up with this excuse that too much protein is going to turn me into someone else. That's my just assumption, because it's a full-time job. If you need to feed in 120 grams of protein with food, it is a bit of a work. You have to be very organized and really prepare yourself for that. It is possible, and that's what we do, but it will take a lot of time for you to actually get your head around it. So I feel like it is firstly very difficult to achieve to overeat your protein, unless you're a really experienced bodybuilder who has been like, oh yeah, I can fit in my 200, 300 calories, protein, grams of protein. If you're prepared, but you've been doing it for so many years. For the general population, to feed in 100 grams of protein is really a big problem. They struggle, and that's what they keep coming back to me.
But the best one I find is in the supermarkets, Coles do it the same, Woolies do it the same back home in Oz. Is the same stuff over here in the UK. Protein bars or protein this, protein that, protein.
Yes.
There's not any better choices just because it says protein on the goddamn label. It's so minimal. You're paying.
And I guess that's a really fancy way of making more money, because we all know we need to eat protein. Look, there are good products, and we can just be a little bit more pedantic with that and just read the labels. What's in there? If you really have to have a protein bar, which is 250 calories, and that is going to give you only 10 grams of protein, you just think about a big bowl of salad with 110 or 150 grams of chicken, an egg, maybe mayonnaise to that, and that will fill you up for hours, rather than one protein bar that is probably going to be highly processed too. So really kind of get into that thinking of what you're eating and how you read the labels. That's the first thing. Start with reading the information about the food that you consume. And yes, because it says high protein, also usually it will come with a lot of other things, and most of the time it will be very high calorie snack. Very little for that amount of calories. And if you're on the budget, you can think twice, right? If you have 3,000 calories to fit in, that will be fine for you, and it can be a quick snack, and probably better than nothing if you're on a long drive. I would have a bar if I'm starving, or I'll have a shake, which I'm not against either of them, but it's just in this situation, will I go for it all the time as my main protein source? Probably not, because I would rather have a proper meal that is going to fuel me and will give me what I need, rather than just, be a quick snack and I'll be hungry again. No. So yes, I guess it will come down to your willingness to learn and get yourself educated. Like, it's funnily enough, but sometimes people come to me and think, oh yeah, well, I had a banana, that's protein, right? I say, what does make you say that? And well, I had a protein shake at the shop. It was a protein smoothie with banana. I said, well,
Since when the
and that's
banana had protein in
that's so sad. Yeah, it's just like, what can you do about that? Well, the only thing we can do is
I'm
actually
glad I
find.
don't have to just deal with special needed people. You get it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, it again comes from lack of information, or overwhelm of information. It's too much, and I wish that all coaches like myself, like you, would be on the mission of actually helping people and educating them, both training and nutrition and the mindset and whatever is required, really, rather than trying to make money of desperate people, particularly women in our
Yeah, I
present.
don't get me started on online. It's
Yes,
I I love working online myself, but it blows my mind that there's a lot of dodgy people out there with it.
absolutely.
So, but
Sadly.
I know you've got to run, so I'm going to end it here. Tatiana, thank you very much for coming on.
You're most welcome, Chris. And yes, we have a lot more to
Pleasure.
cover with this subject. I think if there is interest, of course, we can expand and explore
Definitely.
more.
I would 100% love to have you back on at some point very soon in the near future. It's not just the podcast, obviously the name is the name. I just don't want the bullshit out there in the industry, and there is
And
too
that's
much of it.
true.
It's too much noise and there's not enough facts.
Yes.
And
And
I'd
it
rather
all
be
is,
natural.
in essence, it is actually coming back to very simplistic things. You need to know what you're doing with your body, what you eat, and how you help it to recover. These are the three aspects but no one wants to do it because they think it's too boring and it's too long. And yeah, it can't be true. It's too good to be true.
It is. But on that note, this is the No Bullshit Gymcast podcast.
Thanks,
Tatiana,
Chris. Thanks,
thank you
guys.
very much.